Okay, we're going to unpack the naakPACK energy management system today. Open up the device. First thing to do is take off the screws on the bottom of the cover here on both sides. Remove those. Set them off to the side. You lift the cover off here. And then inside what we have is, this is the antenna for the cellular card. This is a backup battery to keep the unit running in the event of an outage. So first thing you do is you can lift the card up, antenna up. You can plug in the battery here. That'll power the unit up temporarily. That allows it to connect to the cell towers. A solid blue light means that it's communicating. Solid blue with a red flashing light means that it's not communicating. So right now we haven't powered the unit up, so eventually we'll see that flash, but right now it's not connected, so that's okay. So here on the terminal blocks we have CTs. These gray terminal blocks are where the current transformers land. That's where you're monitoring the incoming grid power, the solar power, and if you follow those CTs through, you've got a light, which would be the red, and then the dark, which is the black. So it's basically positive, negative, and so the on the CT you'll have a light, which will be a white or red, and you'll have a black. So you just match the CT wires on this side. So this would be light, red or white, and then black would be this one here. And with these terminal blocks, essentially you just stick your screwdriver into the top of the unit, and that opens the unit up. So if I do that again, you can actually see it. So stick the screwdriver into the top of the unit, and you'll see it open up. So now you can stick your wire inside of here. And that's the same with the larger ones as well. Stick them on the top of the unit, you see it open up. So now it's open for a wire to come in here. Okay, so we've got our CTs. So it would be CT1 light, CT1 dark wire. So CT2 light wire, CT2 dark wire, CT3 light wire, CT4 dark wire, CT3 dark wire, CT4 light wire, CT4 dark wire. Here is the power source for the unit. So again, you can chase all these wires back in, and you'll see this is the power source here, this is the ground, this is the neutral. So you have power source, ground, neutral here. Neutral's got a jumper because the neutral is also being utilized in this, which is the grid sensing relay. The other things I wanted you to be able to trace back would be if you trace back this CT cable here and you follow that through, you'll see that that is shown over here as what they call what the device calls phase 1. It's actually CT number 1. Phase 2 would be CT2. Phase 3 is CT3, and phase 4 is CT4 right there. Okay, so this is the device ID number with the QR code that can be found on the front and also on the side when the cover is placed on top of it. This is your power on and off switch. That's how you turn the unit on and off. So the line is on, the circle is off. So on to the right, and then the other thing is there's a secondary switch right here, which is your battery supply switch. So if it's down, it's in the on position. If it's up, it's in the off position. So the way that you fully cycle this unit is you turn the battery switch off here, turn the battery switch off, and then turn the rocker switch off for 10 seconds. That is a full power cycle for the gateway device. You turn that back on, and then you turn the battery switch back on, and you'll see that the unit comes on. Okay, and that only happens if the battery is plugged in, so you got to make sure you plug that battery in. The antenna goes in an up position. Here we have relays. So we have 3 relays. These are rated up to 30 amps. So these relays will actually control a circuit from the circuit board. And the way it's numbered, if you were on the phone and with one of our tech support, and they were asking if you were talking about CT 1, 2, or 3. It goes from bottom to top. So this is, I'm sorry, CT. This is relay number 1, relay number 2, relay number 3. It goes from bottom to top. So relay 1, 2, and 3. And you can chase those back again here. So relay 1, in this instance, is coming to this first 2 relay terminal blocks. So this is a relay 1 in, relay 1 out. So this is relay 1 in, relay 1 out, relay 2 in, relay 2 out, relay 3 in, relay 3 out. And so we'll show you how to wire those up. You take the cable from the out of the breaker, you put a new wire in from the breaker to the input of the relay, a new wire from the output of the relay, and then you would connect that back to the wire going to the load with a wire nut, and that would happen in the electrical panel there. So we talked about the power in the unit with the black, we have the ground, and we have the neutral. Here, the blue, this is a grid sense relay. So if you bring a wire in, number 12, number 14, from a breaker, from a lug inside the panel, when this circuit loses voltage, that sends a signal to the relay here, that sends a low voltage signal to the gateway, and it says, and that goes here in the input output sensor. The low voltage signal says, okay, the power's out, now action what we would call your battery maximizer or resiliency mode. So if the power goes out, then turn off these relays. So then these relays would typically be managing something heavy like a dryer or a washer, water heater, as long as they're under 30 amps. These relays are rated up to 30 amps. We have additional relays, which I'll show you here in a second, for Zigbee enabled wireless relays that are rated up to 60 amps. So the idea is if you lose power, this will turn off those heavy loads. And so you're just going to wire those relays into here, wire the circuits into here, and the relay will cut the power to that circuit in the event of a grid outage. And in the same respect, when the power returns, the grid sense relay will return power. The relay will sense the power's back on, and it'll turn these circuits back on again automatically. So that's part of our autopilot function. So you'll see that we've got additional space over here to the right, to the left of the terminal blocks, and that space is for additional relays. So here we have a Zigbee enabled relay. This is rated up to 60 amps. This has an input and an output function as well. So those, we could fit 3 of those pretty easily here on the DIN rail next to the system. You can clamp those in. You'll see that there's load in and load out. And so there's a neutral in and the neutral out. And so this works in the same manner as the hardwired relays. This wireless relay, you would bring 2 wires in from the panel. You'd bring a wire to the input. So you would disconnect the wire going to the that's currently in the breaker, and then which is going to the load. You would put a new wire from the breaker into this relay, a new wire out of this relay back to the existing wire that's in the circuit panel with a wire nut. So you'd go out of here into a wire with a wire nut in the panel. And now this relay will then control that load, and the advantage here is a couple. So one advantage is that this is a 60 amp rated relay, so you can get a pretty beefy load control and a pretty beefy circuit there. The second advantage is that this is wireless. So right now this is installed inside the naakPACK itself, but the reality is that this device could be installed in a external box in another near a sub panel. So this is wirelessly enabled. You could control more than these 3. If you had a need to control more than the 3 and 3, 6 total circuits, you could do up to 30 Zigbee devices. So inside this gateway there's a Zigbee chip, so this is actually sending the Zigbee signal to control these Zigbee relays, and additionally Zigbee smart plugs as well. So in terms of wiring this thing up, basically we talked about the CTs 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to power the unit. I do want you to power the unit on phase A. So we're going to power the unit on phase A. Then we've got the ground. This is the blues for the grid sense relay. We've got our neutral. And then we've got relay 1 in and out, relay 2 in and out, relay 3 in and out. And your grid sense relay, you don't have to do anything, that's pre-wired here. Let's go back to the phasing. So the cardinal rule when wiring the naakPACK is that you wire the unit off of phase A. And that's quintessential to get the monitoring done correctly, achieve good data. So you monitor off of phase A, and then you put CT number 1 on the grid. So CT number 1 is going to go on the grid incoming wire, and CT1 is going to go on phase A wire from the grid. Okay, so CT1 goes on the grid phase A, CT2 would go on the grid phase B, so that's CT number 2 here, these two, and then CT number 3 is going to go on the solar phase B, and then CT number 4 is going to go on the solar phase A. So we have grid phase A, grid phase B, solar phase B, solar phase A. Okay, and if you wire this correctly, so you power it off of phase A, your CT1 goes on phase A, your solar CT4 goes on phase A, then that will allow us to track how much energy is being produced by the solar, how much is being consumed from the grid, and how much of the solar energy that's being produced is actually being exported or utilized on site. We can't get that level of detail unless this is wired, this is phased correctly. So the cardinal rule there, I can do another video that details that out separately. But if you got this, then you've got the installation pretty much down pat. So once you've finished installing it, return the cover back, and you're good to go.